Welcome to the Come Hang podcast. I am your host, Specialist Bronson. After serving in the military, I am fascinated by the remarkable stories of those that continue to dedicate their lives to service leadership and leaving no one behind. In our mission to inspire, educate, and collaborate, we invite you to come hang. Welcome back to the show. I am super excited today to have a guest with me. Our very first guest with episode 1, Brad Howe, the one and only, referred me over to this fine young lady that he met out at the Winter Sports Clinic. They gave me a call a few days ago, made the introduction, and Wendy reached out to me, I believe it was last night, and we're setting this thing up. So without further ado, I present to you Wendy Major.
Hey, what's
Wendy,
up?
thank you for coming on. It's awesome to have you. Let's just get started. Let's dive back. Give me kind of a quick, our guests and everybody, give us a quick kind of what life was like growing up, where are you from, and kind of bring us through your childhood, any impactful moments, stories, talk about your parents, grandparents. Give us a little intro into your life.
Well, I'm a little crazy Cajun girl from Louisiana, born and raised, little backwoods area called Parks in between Brobridge and St. Martinville, you know.
Okay.
They call that the crawfish capital of the world. Funny story, I'm actually allergic to seafood, so joke's
that's
on
good.
me, you know. Growing up, man, I was actually the primary caregiver of my family. So I wasn't really allowed to play on like any sports teams or anything like that. Instead, I was actually either A, warming them up, or B, I was running the concession stands. I think the only reason I was actually allowed to play in the band is because the doctor said that it would be great for me.
For what reasons?
Just for like breathing and stuff like that, because I had a little bit of childhood asthma.
Got it. So when you're saying you're taking care of breadwinner for the family and taking care of them,
Pretty much,
cetera,
like,
right?
did a lot of odd jobs, like, I had a little garden going at one point. And I
Nice.
used to go pick the figs out of the water meter lady's, fig tree because of all the wasps and stuff like that, babysit and stuff like that. So, I did a lot of Girl Scouts, though. Surprisingly, that was an okay thing to do.
Okay. All right. So let's walk into. I know that you served in the military. Let's talk about what kind of led you up to that and what your MOS was.
Well, believe it or not, I actually joined the Marine Corps first.
Okay.
I was 16 when I did so, and then my mom, she called in a Red Cross message while I was at a drill saying that I was needed to come home because my family had a lot of health issues. My mom
Okay.
had a lot of heart failure, and my grandmother was diabetic and stuff like that. So when she had to go back in for another double bypass, I believe it was that time, the Marine Corps said, "Hey, I'm sorry, we can't take you anymore because we can't take away the main caregiver for the family, or caretaker for the family." So it was a compassionate release. And then I wound up walking literally right across the way and looked at the National Guard, and I was like, "Y'all will take me, right?"
Oh, no.
And I signed up with them. But it initially started when I was in 6th grade. You know, the Twin Towers got hit, and I remember the panic and everything that kind of happened. And I was like, I want to be a part of something bigger than me.
Yeah.
I want to, I guess, be a superhero. I wanted to save the world, you know?
Right.
I wanted to help stop the bad things that caused everybody to be so upset.
How did your mom feel about you joining?
Obviously, she was not happy. I had to kind of,
No.
you know, push it around a little bit like, hey, I'm going to leave one way or the other. So you can either let me do what I want to do, or I'll do it on my own.
Gotcha. Was your father in the picture at this time?
Actually, my father wasn't around since I was a kid. I didn't know that he was actually still alive until I graduated from high school.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff, but he was a Marine Corps veteran who served through, I want to say, Vietnam and Korean War,
Okay.
which was kind of cool, which is kind of what led me into the Marine Corps in the beginning, is because I wanted to try and, I guess, find that connection.
Right. So when you joined, what was your MOS? Where did you do basic? Where'd you go? Where's your duty station?
So, funny story. I was in the Marine Corps band at first.
Okay.
And then I transitioned from the Marine Corps band over to the Army National Guard band. and I had one of the, I want to say, weirdest startups in the military. So I didn't get to go to my AIT until 2 years after my basic training.
Wow.
So because you're from Louisiana, you know what happens in Louisiana from June to September timeframe.
That's all hurricane stuff, right?
Correct.
Hurricane season. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I graduated from boot camp in Fort Jackson in August 8th, 2008. And at that time, you had two Category 3 hurricanes coming through a day out apart from each other.
Yeah.
So during graduation, the drill sergeant was so happy to run up to me and hand me my papers and said, "You have less than 12 hours to get back home to your unit for active duty."
Oh, wow.
And I served through Hurricanes Gustav and Ike my first round. It changed a lot, let me tell you, because it was not what I thought it was going to be. I did not know what to expect. I mean, you go through all that intensive training during boot camp, you're like, "Hoorah!" You know, sorry, I said
Yeah.
the Marine Corps thing. And you say, "Whoa, let's go," you know, we going after this, blah, 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 you know, like, "Hey, where's my stuff?" You know,
Right.
but you get out there and you're fighting something that you don't even know what's really coming at you. It's not something you can shoot at. It's not something you can really completely prepare for, you know? It was a whole lot of helping out with the evacuations. We we were living in a chicken coop
Oh
in
my gosh.
Alexandria, Louisiana. Can you imagine that? They cleaned out all the chicken, and you were hopeful that there might not have been any chicken poop still left behind. And they
That's all they
boarded it
could.
up,
That's all they could do to barrack you up, huh?
right? Like, I didn't have a
Lord.
driver's license or anything. I was fresh out of boot camp, 18 years old, and went straight to active duty. I had to do whatever they said, and they were like, there was this one 2-star general Downer from Mississippi, from the Mississippi unit that came through. And sorry, my dogs are being a little
No,
crazy.
you're good.
Um, but he would come through, and I would be at the gate, you know, saluting him, and he nicknamed me Smiles. And he used to say, every time we would come through the gate, he was like, "If you smile one more time at me and salute me, I'm going to drop you." And I was like, "Yes, sir."
I love it. Right
And
on.
it felt like it kind of put a lot of pressure. I mean, my last name is Major, first and foremost. Okay. I tend to get into some trouble sometimes, but he requested through my command team that I become his driver
Wow.
after the hurricane had passed. And the commander looked at me and was like all mad at me. He was like, "You don't even have a driver's license. Why did you tell him you could take him?" And I was like, "I didn't say nothing." So my driver's license came from driving a Humvee right after two Category 3 hurricanes came through.
That's
They opened up
awesome.
the DMV, and that's how I took my driver's test, just so I can drive around the town with the 2-star general that I was like really super nervous about.
Not bad. I
Yeah.
spent a month, yeah, just under a month in Louisiana. I was at Fort Polk back
Oh,
in, oh, good Lord, that would have been 2002 and three, somewhere out in there. I joined right after 9/11 as well. Went and did my basic in Fort Benning, Georgia. From there, got stationed Fort Lewis, Washington, and we were part of the Stryker Brigade. We were the first
oof.
unit to get the Strykers. So my initial job, I was on a machine gun team. I was an ammo bearer, and then in a late night training accident, one of the guys jumped off the back of the truck and landed on me, and it blew out both my ankles, tore
Oh
ligaments and
man.
tendons. So I went through reconstructive surgery. They moved me over to become a driver. So I started driving Strykers, loved it, so much fun. But then my unit got deployed twice. I stayed back on rear D, ended up getting reconstructive surgeries and medically discharged. But right before we went to Iraq, we did a joint readiness training operation down there in Fort Polk. Probably the funnest month of my entire military career.
So you
Absolutely
like the
amazing.
sandbox, huh?
It was so fun. It was so fun. Just the level of, I mean, for the time, the level of technology that went into that post, you know, making it realistically feel like another country. You know, we had different names we had to go by, our jobs. You know, they do, you know, bring raids in. So for 2 weeks, we went through our mission rotation, and then for the last 2 weeks, we were the civilians on the battlefield while the next company came through and did their rotation. Absolutely loved it. We actually
I
paid some
bet
of the
you love the food
civilian.
more, huh?
I was just about to tell you, we had a A bunch of us one night. So they had civilian contractors that would come in and play role games and stuff with us as well. And we all pitched in one night and like threw in $20. And the next day she came back with this giant pot and we did a big crawfish boil and corn and potatoes, the whole 9 yards. It was fantastic.
Oh, they fed y'all good. That's good. I'm glad
Yeah.
they did that for y'all.
Yeah. And then I got a
But
chance to go back with my wife to New Orleans for a conference several years back. Loved the culture, absolutely loved it. I can't wait to go back. I love sitting out there and watching little kids on the drummer buckets. Kids, I can watch that forever.
I think
It's
my
just
favorite
fascinating.
is seeing how still and disciplined the guys are that are all like painted up and look like
Oh,
statues.
yes. Yep.
I think those are my favorite part about it. Other than the beignets at Cafe Du Monde.
And the crazy hurricanes. Those
You
hurricane
know
banks,
what?
man, those things will mess you up.
There's a song from Band of Heathens called Hurricane. They come around all the time. I was born underneath the freaking moon, baby. That's a careful lie.
Okay, so let's move on here with what happens after you kind of spend some time doing hurricane cleanup.
So it went from 2 hurricanes to, I think we had a 3rd hurricane right after that, about a month or 2 apart, and then I wound up on a couple flood orders. Well, during that time, I realized that I really did not like the band as much as I liked chasing the exciting jobs and duties of helping out during hurricanes and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Let's go and do it. I found out that one of my units from someone that I went to school with was about to deploy to Iraq. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. This is why I joined. Let's go. So I switched to 68 Juliet, which is med supply specialist.
Say it again.
And med supply specialist.
Med supply. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I did that. I went over to BAMC, which is Fort Sam Houston in Texas. And the only thing that held me back for a week was one of the guys got drunk when he shouldn't have and bowled a 15-pound ball into my ankle.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. He was separated from the military because of that, unfortunately. And I lived to fight another day. The injury healed. I did my PT test and rock and rolled. And I was given my orders to head to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, from the 199th Medical Battalion out of St. Martinville, Louisiana. But as I'm starting to head out, I get a call from the MPs saying, we need you to come in to headquarters in Lafayette. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, what happened? They're like, well, you're marked AWOL in 4 different units. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I got marked AWOL in 4 different units.
How
and I had to
that
sit
happen?
there. I don't know. I have no idea. They obviously saw more in me than I saw in myself, to be honest. I was like, I guess it's very rare for someone to go doing all these different activation orders, Title 10 orders without any actual MOS. I guess that's what they saw. I was like, we want her.
Dang.
They're like, she don't care. But yeah, I had to sit in a room with 5 commanders, 5 captains, and figure out what unit I was actually going to go with. And, they did their little thing of, I can make you a staff sergeant in X amount of time. Oh, we're going to do this for you. Oh, we're going to do that for you.
So you're getting recruited, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So I went with the 136 Bravo Company. It was a communication sustainment brigade out of Carville, Louisiana. I mean, it didn't happen the way they said it was going to happen, let me tell you. They
Nothing
all
in the
lied.
military
Okay,
does.
they all
Nothing
lied.
in the Army does.
And we were not deploying anytime soon like they had promised either. Instead, I got put on alone on a whole different one. Don't get me wrong. Okay, the 136 Bravo Company, they were the best unit I have actually ever been a part of. It really was like a family there. They cared more than I thought that they were going to care. And that's going to show as we get further into my transition from one place to another. The next thing that was up on the list is I got drafted for the oil spill. I got brought out. I got brought in the BP oil spill.
Yes, BP.
It was Operation Deepwater Horizon.
Yep.
And I would say that one has probably been one of the worst ones that I have dealt with throughout my career. So we're first out there, we're helping the Coast Guard, trying to do everything that we can. I mean, you'll never get the smell of burning oil or the sight of everything just black, you
Wow.
know? You'll never get that out of your head. The lots of businesses that they had to freaking go under because they couldn't do their fishing, they couldn't do anything. And
Yeah.
the people's lives who were on the rig themselves, it was something to hear some of their stories, to see everything that was going on. There was a select few of us that actually wound up getting a Coast Guard award for what we had done
Oh,
during the
nice.
oil spill that year. Um, but during that time, during that time, there was a lot of things that happened. I'm allergic to the flu shot. And on one particular day, they decided that they were going to make us get flu shots, and they didn't care whether or not I told them I was allergic to it. They couldn't find the paperwork, so they made me take the shot. And I wound up in the hospital for a little bit that day. And upon returning, I mean, I'm sick, I'm exhausted and whatnot. And I had another fellow soldier that I thought was a friend come banging on my door that night. And unfortunately, everything that had happened that night got swept under the rug, all because I opened the door. They claimed it as consensual.
Yeah.
Didn't matter that my fiance at the time, when I told him what had happened, he came flying down. They didn't care. You know, all they did was they moved him from that unit to another one, and they sent me back home to my parent unit. You
I'm
know,
sorry to hear that.
and when things like that happen, people don't think about it, but the females, we get branded.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how hard we try. It doesn't matter what the proof says. We get branded. And it's taken a long time to, talk about stuff like this, because I still feel like it's my fault sometimes,
Yeah.
because that's how they make it out to be.
Yeah.
So I started drinking. I was 19 at the time. Um, so I started drinking a lot, and it became a problem. And my parent unit started to notice. Well, I got put on a Fed Tech job, which was really cool because I was really good at what I did. So I transitioned as well, by the way, in between this time. So after the BP oil spill, I wound up going to my final sets of schools for 91 Bravo, which is wheel mechanic, with a little bit of Hotel 8 school for recovery and stuff. I did the combat life saving courses and all that good stuff. So that's what I did for the 199. Sorry, 199 was medical. I've been in a lot of units. Oh my gosh,
Right.
the 136 Bravo company. I can't even remember the unit I was attached to when I went to New Orleans anymore for the BP oil spill. That's kind of how bad it was.
Wow.
But yeah, it took a toll on me. It took a really big toll on me. And I think the biggest toll that it took was that I lost a part of who I was, and started to feel like I didn't have anybody to have my back. So I went throughout, and I kind of developed like this little bit of a attitude toward the guys in the unit and stuff like that. And what really took the cake is that one of the female soldiers, so I was put in a leadership position. I was E4 Mafia all the way for the whole 8 years that I've been in. I've been promised my sergeant rank so many times, and it's been stripped away by another man every single time. And it sucks,
Yeah.
and I still put on that smile, and I still do my duty because that's just who I am. My mama always said, and so did my grandma, that you're only given one thing in life, and that's your name.
Yeah. It's
So I
powerful.
just did what I had to do. But this female soldier in particular, and because she didn't want to come forward and say anything, I understood she didn't want to be branded. So she calls me up like around 9, 10 o'clock at night one day, and she said, "Hey, Major, can you please come get me? Like this guy, he's throwing baseballs at me, he's hitting
Mhm.
me, he's hurting me. Like, can you come get me?" I was like, "Call the cops. I'm like 45 minutes away from you." And she's like, "I trust you though." She's like, "They're just going to say it's my fault anyways," because she knew. So I drove well out of my way, and I was 19. I didn't own a gun or anything, so I brought a baseball bat. And I put it up to that sorry piece of son of a you know what's head. And I said, "You ever touch another woman again, and I'll make sure that head comes clean off."
Yeah.
And I grabbed her, and we went. She tried to kill herself about a week later, and I got to her in time, you
Good.
know, but it hurts when you see people going through that because you feel that, you know,
For sure.
and drove me even deeper down. Well, finally enough was enough, and I threw a wrench at one of my E6's heads because I took it as what it wasn't, because I couldn't see past what was going on in my own head. And the women in the unit pulled me together. The Staff Sergeant Weems, Lieutenant Conacher, those two really they made the biggest impact at that moment. It was like, listen, we don't want to take your rank from you, but we have to do something, you know. So we knew as soon as my name went in the hat for deployment, I was gone. And I was like literally like within a day or two. I was selected to go with the 922nd Engineer Battalion out of Gonzales, Louisiana. Only problem was, guess who the first face I saw when I
No,
walked there?
no, no, no. Your
And
abuser?
he outranked me and he was in my platoon. Yep. We
It's
shook hands,
gut-wrenching.
said bygones were going to be bygones, and by golly, George, they were for a while, you know, until our deployment. So we deployed during Operation Enduring Freedom. And when we first landed boots on ground over there, that's when it started. Started with him telling me the wrong place to be, the wrong uniform, the wrong time. And when I found my way around that so he couldn't make me out to be a bad soldier, he started with the verbal, you know, the women don't belong in the military. You don't belong in the front lines. I'm just trying to protect you. Oh, you're a piece of shit soldier. Oh, you need to sign this document here because there's a nude photo of you going around. And when I asked for proof, the first sergeant thought that as a challenge and put me in front rest leaning position and forced me to sign it anyways, even though I asked for the proof because I know I hadn't done it. He had called, it was my husband, he was my husband at the time. He had called my husband back home, tell him that I was sleeping around with like 10 different men. That ended my marriage, by the way. Um, Came home, he had another kid on the way. I don't blame him. You know, we actually still talk nowadays too. But this year has been a lot about talking about what has happened to me. It's been a long time,
Yeah.
you know, and he finally, my ex-husband finally understood what happened over there that caused everything, you know. But yeah, when all of that stopped, because my ex-husband and I just stopped talking while I was deployed over there after a while because of it. Um I He started with more physical stuff. It started with him uh slamming my plate off out of my hands in front of everybody at the defect, telling everybody who saw it that you better watch her. She's crazy. She's unhinged. She's on a psych profile. She's about to go home. She's a horrible soldier. She's got an Article 15 on the way. And I mean, I asked the staff sergeant, someone who outranked him, I said, hey, I was like, why aren't you doing anything about this? And he's like, I don't want that to happen to me. He's just going to find someone else. Mind you, during this time, I freaking realized and found out from other sources back home that that was the third time he had gotten his sergeant rank back
So he'd
for
been
doing the
busted
same
down
behavior.
before.
Like he's done it 3 other times and lost his rank. And then he got his rank back again, and here he is doing it to me. And I knew why, but it didn't matter if I told them why he was targeting me. It didn't matter. I didn't. I was too scared to have that brand on me, you know. And it got worse and worse. So I finally blocked out all the noise. I was doing a lot of dancing out there. I was helping. I was learning and instructing country line and swing dance while we were out there, which really helped a lot with me blocking out the verbal abuse from him. And then he would come in and he would have like this pep in his step when he would walk and be like, I didn't take my meds today, and take chairs and stuff and throw it at me, wrenches. He would toss it at the equipment that I was working on. And he's like, did you know that if you're signed for a vehicle and something breaks on it, you are liable for it? Didn't matter if he broke it or not. I signed for that piece of equipment, you know? So he would do that. He would shove me into things. And then the worst ones was he would grab me while I was on a creeper by my ankle and he would sling me out right into another vehicle.
Mm.
And then one day, like, it's not even recorded because I mean, I, sh- I hate myself a little bit because it's not documented, you know?
Yeah.
Some of this is not ever been documented. Um, and it hurt me on my disability claims and stuff, you know, because it's just put as tension headaches instead of the original TBI that I had.
Right.
Because when he came in the one day, I'm on a creeper underneath. I think it was a scraper. I can't even remember honestly, but he came in and he kicked that foot really, really bad. He kicked it so hard that I hit my head and knocked myself out underneath it.
Yeah.
And when I came to, he's like, "Oh, a sick call ranger on the way."
No.
Kept calling me sick call ranger, and I refused. I was not going to let him win, so I didn't go. You know, I'm as tough as they come. And what's funny is, I've got our platoon photo here while we're standing. I believe underneath the standing with the scraper that I hit my head under. Um, he's not in it because another unit finally saw the abuse after he locked me in a Connex
What?
for a while. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, everybody had left. I was in there doing inventory because that's the job that I was allowed to do, you know. I was a master mechanic and yet I was reduced to level 10 stuff like changing tires, oil, and inventory,
Yeah.
you know? And he locked me in there to one day and he left. There was nobody else around. And the chaplain from the 301st Sustainment Brigade out of Ohio heard me banging, and he came in, he opened up the doors, and I lost it, you know? And the unit found out that I had spoke to a chaplain or somebody in high ranks outside of the command, and they legit stormed me, the first sergeant, platoon sergeant, and him, saying that I had less than 8 hours to supply that EO report, or I was going to be sent home for failure to adapt.
Wow.
So I went back. I found the chaplain, and he was like, "I'm not going to let that happen." I wish I can remember his name, to be honest, but there were some people who noticed what was happening, and they wrote some really, really nice what do you call those again? Shit, come on. Statements. They wrote statements.
Letter
Someone,
recommendation or
thank you, or incident reports or something.
okay.
They wrote a statement
Affidavits.
for me to say what they were seeing that was happening to me. And honestly, if that chaplain hadn't have done what he did for me, I don't know what would have happened really over there. So they I finished filling it out. We go into the talk, and the commander looks at me, Captain Rodriguez. He looks at me and he goes, "I ought to have your rank for this bullshit." He's like, "Why wouldn't you say something?" I did say something.
Yeah.
I've been saying something. My chain of command failed me. And instead, the major finally comes in and he goes, no, this is BS. Something needs to be done. And the only thing they didn't take his rank. They didn't give him Article 15. They didn't do destruction of government property on him. Instead, they gave him a 90-day restraining order where he sat in the talk with the higher ups drinking all the confiscated booze. Yeah. Well, it doesn't end there. That was only 3 months of what I thought was peace. Instead, he went after another person. He was a PFC at the time. And I mean, he he was one of those soldiers, that we were a little, he was a couple fries short of a Happy Meal, but he was a good guy nevertheless, and apparently he had been receiving some of the treatment that I was getting in the barracks from the same person. from the same sergeant.
Okay.
And he came up to me and he called me a buck-tooth beaver. And I lost it on him and I shoved him up against the forklift and I said, "You ever call me that again or treat me like that because somebody else is making you do so, and that'll be the end of you," is what I told him.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, apparently he was talking about committing suicide and I got blamed for it.
Good Lord.
Yeah. You know, that guy is doing really well, by the way. I did check into him. I think he got out the military and he's back in again in Alabama.
Oh, wow.
So he's doing really well because I feel all that. Like there was so much guilt put on me, you know. We lost a soldier while we were out there on May 26th of 2013. His name was Christopher Drake. And it was on a mission that I was supposed to be on, according to them anyways. And I was told that, you know, that they saved my life because that was supposed to be me. Yeah.
It's heavy.
So, but let's fast forward a little bit. We're going. This is what, July, August, September. He comes back in October after the 90 days are up. He keeps his distance for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, I'm still asking for a decent job since I am a master mechanic. I don't want to go back and do inventory anymore. I don't want to be in there when he's around. I just want to do my job, you know? So they give me a 4-man job to do by myself. And I take it with like grace. I was like, all right, let's go. I'm going to figure it the hell out because I've got brains in my head, you know?
Yeah.
So they give me, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these things, but it's a large freaking piece of industrial construction equipment. It's called an earth ground scraper.
I used to drive one as a kid.
Oh, so you know that thing
I know
is
exactly
freaking
what they are.
humongous. I mean, the tire itself was almost taller than me, and I'm
Oh,
5'6".
yeah. I started driving one when I was 8 years old, helping my dad build a reservoir on our ranch.
Oh, so
And I don't know where it's at, but he's got a picture of me standing next to it, and my head does not even clear the rim.
yeah.
So
See,
yes,
so
I
you
know
know what I'm
exactly what you're
talking
talking. I
about.
know exactly what you're talking about.
So those hubs are something, okay?
Yep.
Especially because they were all up armored.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
I used the forklift and I used everything else. They kept having a leak on the hub, so I pulled everything off. I have everything marked, everything cleaned up. I repaired the hub. I'm getting the gasket back on it. There's a specific way that you have to put those things. And I'm over there and I'm doing it all by myself. Nobody around. They're all in the bay looking at me and watching me like, oh, she's going to fail. And then a sergeant major of the base comes by. And all of a sudden, all these men come running out of the bay. Like, oh, let the men do this. Let me help you. I was like, you're going to put it on wrong. I was like, no, stop. I got a method. Like, leave me alone. I got this. But no, the sergeant major's there. So they have to show that they can do stuff. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? And then they put it on the wrong way. And I got in trouble for that too. Yeah.
What a mess.
So, and it was pretty rough. So fast forwarding, everything is going a little bit easier. Everybody's kind of backing off just a little bit toward the end of deployment, and it's like that calm before the storm, you know.
Okay.
I do my PT test. We're doing our last yearly PT test before we go home. I ran a 15-minute 2-mile run. I was in the best shape of my life. I did more push-ups, more sit-ups than I've ever done in my whole career. Enough to make the 300 score. And they erased my scores. You can literally see the erase mark on my PT test. And they put that I did it in 17 minutes instead of 15. I outran them. I passed them up. I did the Army 10-miler over there in an hour and 35 minutes. 10 miles in an hour and 35 minutes. And yet, somehow I was running a 17-minute 2-mile. Yeah.
You just can't win.
I couldn't win. And
Mm.
I would bring it up and I just kept getting shoved right back down by the command team. They just did not care. Like it's like he had something on all of them almost. Like they were best buds. And he just kept saying, "Oh, it's my PTSD." I don't give a crap. I have PTSD. It doesn't it doesn't mean that you get to treat people like the
Right.
way you treat it,
Yeah. It doesn't excuse your behaviors.
you know? And then we came back home. I tried to switch to another unit. I tried to actually switch over to the Ohio unit that was out there. So that way I can finish with them and actually stay out there longer because I loved what I did. You know? It's just something about it, honestly. Like being deployed, don't get me wrong, it's hard, but you get told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what to wear while doing so, you know. Just hope you don't get blown up or shot.
Yeah.
It's it's not a bad life. I mean, it's not a hard one really, unless you're having to fight the people who's supposed to be fighting the same side as you,
Yeah.
you know? And so he blocked that and we came back, we went back to El Paso, Texas at Fort Bliss, and we're getting ready to discharge. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going back to my home unit. I'm going to find another unit that's going to be fine. I'm going to, trying to shake it off. I survived. I'm back home or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the end of it. He flagged me for medical for my foot. And I went to medical and they was like, "Oh, you need surgery like yesterday." They're like, "This is not good." And I was like, "I'm running a 15-minute 2 mile." Like, no, no, you're not touching this. Well, when I denied them the right to operate on my foot, he came back and had this big old jolly bounce in his step with a smile on his face saying, because we care so much about you, it's destruction to government property if you don't have the surgeries that they're recommending. Yeah, he used that one a lot. Almost as much as he used that adultery is a sin and punishable under UCMJ action, by the way. That was what he used whenever he said I had a nude photo of myself going around that he can never show proof of because I
Yeah.
didn't, you know? And one surgery led into two surgeries because I didn't want to lose my military career. And then I had severe drop foot and I couldn't use my foot at all. They removed everything that I had built up in my foot to allow me to move. But it wasn't just that. When you're trained to do something, you're trained the right way. If you're getting drug across something, you grab the IBA vest, correct?
Yep.
The handle on it, there's a purpose for it.
Yep.
He grabbed my shoulder and ripped it out of my socket. And he reported that too. And now I have issues with my shoulder. I have a couple anchors all up in here trying to hold my shoulder together, but you can see the hole right here where my
Yep.
labrum was. It is no more. So, and I may be facing another surgery with that soon, but I'm going to push that off as much as possible because if you ever had a shoulder surgery, it hurts.
I've
Oh
had
my
them
gosh.
both done.
Oh yeah, it's no fun. No fun at all. But later on down the years, 8 years later, well, let's back it back up. I'm in med board. I'm going from base to base to base for about 3 years after coming
Wow.
home, or 2 years after coming home, rather. And still had no use of my foot. They was like, "Well, we can't use you. We're discharging you." And I was like, "No, cut it the hell off. Cut it off. Give me a prosthetic. Let me go." They said, "No, you're a limb salvage patient. You're just going to have to deal with it." So while I'm going through all that stuff, I did a program called Learn to Run at BAMC, where they fitted me for an IDEO exoskeleton prosthetic, which is actually what helped me get through for the past 8 years. But I fought everything. I did all the stuff that I went through. Mental health. Mental health was, the worst. I didn't want to say that I had PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I didn't want to be called sick call ranger for crying out loud, But I went there and they rated me at 70% for anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And they only gave me 10% for my shoulder and 0% for my foot that I had no use of. Is what the VA rated you at, by the way. Yeah.
How the hell's that happen?
I don't know. I can't explain it to you. I don't know. And there was a lot of other things that were on there too. But I went and I sat for the third time. I physically showed up to the med board panel and I showed them everything. I showed them the sworn statements. That's the word, sworn
So, there you
statements.
go.
Yeah, I showed them the sworn statements from the people who saw the abuse that was happening to me, the 90-day restraining order that was placed on them. I showed them the medical documents of what he had actually really done to me. I showed them the counseling statements that he tried to force me to do. You know, I gave them physical proof. There was only one woman in that board with a crap ton of men. And I don't know if it's because she was just on their side or because she didn't have room to speak regardless on the matter because she was outnumbered.
Yeah.
But I told them the same story. You know, I told them everything. And they handed me my packet back saying, I'm sorry that all of this happened to you. We hope you seek help, but we're not going to retire you. I had 70% in that one category, and I didn't get my medical retirement or my E5 rank with it because they just swept it under the rug. You know, they didn't want to admit that their programs failed, that all these death by PowerPoints that we had to watch didn't work, or that an entire unit where the first sergeant got caught in a Scooby bus, as we called it, the little Haji vans, with his shirt off with lower enlisted soldiers, and nothing at the biggest alcohol raid on base, by the way, and yet nothing happened to him, but everybody else that was like lower enlisted got some sort of mark or counseling for it.
Wow.
Yeah. Like that's the type of unit I was in. You know?
I'm sorry. That's awful.
I mean, one of the guys actually, NSA got involved because a chick was blackmailing him because he was, you know, jacking off online. And the girl realized he was out of country and was like, oh, you have to pay me this or I'm going to show this to everybody. And it didn't help that the females had some sort of Craigslist scandal going on where they were selling their own body for money while they were over there too. All in the same unit. Wow. And yet I was the bad soldier. I was a sick call ranger. I was the you shouldn't be here. You can't adapt soldier. Yeah. You know? But yet I got soldier of the quarter when I was not in that unit. Oh, I should mention that I had to help train the guy that they wanted to be soldier of the quarter. I have photos of me completely drenched holding his water that he couldn't carry the whole, what was it, 10 or 12 mile ruck march that he had to do. I did the full thing. I had the weapon, I had the weight. I even carried all his water for him. And they blamed me for him failing because he fell asleep in parade rest during drill and ceremony. I was like, I didn't fall asleep. He did. But you sent him, and I had to work with him to do it.
Good Lord.
I just don't understand how things like that happen, you know? So
I don't either. I'm so sorry you went through all that, Wendy.
Yeah. You want to take a guess at what I'm rated at?
What was that?
You want to take a guess at what my rating is right now with the VA?
Let's see. The Army gave you 70, right?
All together, no. So I got 70 into one and a 10% from my shoulder.
So 80 total.
Yeah.
What the VA's probably got you about 60?
No, I'm at 90 now.
Oh, good.
After they finally cut my leg off in 2021. So it was something that needed to happen. And you know, after losing the leg in 2021, things have gotten better.
Good.
You know, I can move a lot more. I can do more things. You know, I'm losing a lot more weight finally because that it does something to you. You know, if somebody tells you, so MedBoard put me on a 72-hour psych hold, by the way, after they told me that they weren't going to retire me.
Okay.
So you want me to get help, but yet you can't see, you know, that this is part of the problem. And that was in 2016, by the way. And I received Soldier of the Quarter from the MedBoard unit I was in.
Really?
Believe it or not. So I got a nice little Army accommodation medal, I guess. Like, hey, thank you for participating. Bye. Yeah. You know? Because I didn't stop. I mean, I continued to be active. I did a program called Ride to Recovery. I rode with some other amazing vets who also have like similar stories, similar issues. We did like cross country and stuff like that. And then when I got out, I think the depression hit the worst. There was nobody.
Yeah.
Couldn't hold a job down because I was still facing those demons of nobody gives a shit and men are, crappy. And I had a psychologist, therapist that really cared. And she's like, no, you have to do something. So here we are, 2016. I got out in March, moved out to Florida because if I would have stayed in Louisiana, it would have been bad. So I moved to get away from everything.
Just get a fresh start.
Yeah. And I mean, the VA out here is way better than what Louisiana's got. I'll tell you that much.
Good.
But yeah, I moved out here and the therapist, she cared, Dr. Major. And she said, nope, you have to do something. And she's like, nah, you're going to go to this. And she made sure that I showed up for a Try Sled Hockey for Free event.
Okay.
So I went and I did that. And it was Kristen Bonus at the time that was the head of the program. And she was a phenomenal director, let me tell you. She was amazing. And it was cool to see a woman in charge, But she comes up to me. She's like, you're getting the hang of this like really quick. She's like, how would you like to be on the team? And I was like, wait, what? I was like, you want me on the team? I was like, I never even heard of hockey really. I was like, we had one team, the Louisiana Ice Skaters, and I mean, they didn't last that long. So like, I know jack nothing about hockey, and that's when my passion for sled hockey began. But there was still that one thing. I had trouble working with men.
Yeah.
Instead of teaching, they just talk down. At one point they were like, oh, you hear Wendy? She's echoing us. I'm sitting right behind you, dude. I didn't say a damn thing. Like, what is your issue? I mean, it's all veterans. I mean, we all have our own thing going on. And it was veterans that were the ones that were doing some of that. And it just really took me back to that place.
Yeah.
I felt like I was never going to be respected. Like I didn't even have a shot. And
so tell me about getting in the sled for the first time. I don't know if Brad told you that I got involved with sled hockey as well. Did you know that?
He did. He told me about that. He said we'd have that cool little bond.
We do. So I can relate in a lot of what you're saying there as far as, and we'll get more into Brad here in a bit because I want to know how you guys met. But Brad is one of those genuine souls who
100%
cares. Doesn't matter where you are, where you came from. He is a genuine soul. So tell me about that first time getting on the ice.
So that first time getting on the ice, man, I didn't know nothing. Kristen said, here, put this on, put that on, put this on. All right, here's your sticks. All right, so you're going to get on the ice and you're going to sit down in this thing. And I was like, okay, my feet go here. And she goes, yes. And then you're going to take these pointy things and you're going to shove them into the ice and push.
Yep.
And I did that. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's kind of like kayaking a little bit, maybe, but not really.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, cool. I was like, how the hell do I turn in this thing? There was a lot of going into the walls. There was a lot of hitting people. And there was a lot of losing the stick and not knowing how to get back to it. And boy, don't fall over in them things.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get up.
It'll take you a minute, especially if you got bad shoulders.
Yeah. But I managed to figure it out. There was a few people from the team that were there and they came over and they're like, hey, this is how you get up. You just push down here. And I was like, okay, cool. And then by the end of the 2 hours that we were out there that day, I had learned how to like shove my hand down the stick a little bit and like at least push the puck. Yeah. Not really shoot it because I mean you don't know what the hell you're doing, right. You're just lucky that you even touched the puck, It was different. It was something, It was something. And I still, and I think it's a problem that I still have today is that I'm better than what I think I am. And because of that, I take it really hard on myself because I'm not used to feeling like I deserve things.
Okay.
the way that people would talk down on me, not getting the things that I deserve, and feeling like when I do get things that I actually deserve, I still feel like I need to work harder, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and like people are just blowing smoke up my butt sometimes, you know? But yeah, it was really amazing, and I joined the team, and like I said, I still had a lot of issues with the guys. It wasn't any of their fault. I mean, it's not. I don't think they actually really did anything, but I still kind of took it out on them a little bit, and I
Yeah.
still like had that fear, like they were gonna do it. I had a lot of pseudo seizures back in that time from the severe PTSD, so it basically looked like I was having a seizure, but it was a very, very, very bad panic attack.
Mm.
And I would come out of it not being able to really speak and stuff for a little bit, and like I just couldn't really like focus. So, and it sucks because when it happens, like you really go back, like you can feel the heat, you can smell the air, you can, you can taste the atmosphere, almost you can
Yeah.
hear it, you know and it sucks.
So
you know
you started doing sled hockey in what year?
2016, August of 2016. It's
2016. And
also when I started going back to school.
you're still doing it now.
I am.
Are you still
So
part of the same team?
yeah, I am actually.
Same. Yeah, that's
It's a little
fantastic.
different now. So things have kind of happened, with COVID and stuff. Well, right before COVID, so I really started to get a little bit better,
Okay.
and I started to advocate for the sport. But like I said, still kind of had a little bit of that issue with the guys a little bit. Well, something happened that really changed my life, and um, it still pretty much affects me to this day. I will never work on a vehicle again for a while.
Okay.
Um, I'm not going to say ever again. It's going to take some time, more time than what I've had right now. But I was working on my wife's truck in the driveway, and the exoskeleton prosthetic that I had at the time got caught when the rear drive shaft U joint snapped out
Okay.
of nowhere, and the rear drive shaft dropped, and the truck rolled down the only hills in Florida, which are the driveways, and
Oh.
the drive shaft caught my leg and dragged me down the driveway with it, releasing my leg with my head right in back of the front tire of the truck. I took an 8,500-pound truck over my skull
Mm.
and ripped over half my face off. Um, it was by far, I think, one of the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, but it was definitely a wake up call for me. Um, it took me it took me a while to recover from that. I was in ICU for four days, in and out of consciousness. Had over 100 in staples and 100 stitches placed
Mm.
in my skull and face area. They actually flew out a plastic surgeon to do the surgery for me, and yeah, they came through on the fourth day and woke me up and was like, "Listen, we need you to walk." And like I couldn't speak, let alone really think or anything. And I was like, okay, whatever, like I physically couldn't speak, and I was just like, thumbs up. They put the exoskeleton prosthetic on my leg. They put me in a walker with the rope on it, and I walked as the best that I could, which was not fast and not far,
Yeah.
but it was enough to where they were able to send me home on home health care because COVID was starting, and it was very early and it was bad. And they said if I would have stayed in the hospital and got COVID, it would have killed me. I had a drain tube coming out of my skull and everything. So I went home on home health care and had to learn how to walk, how to talk, how to do for myself again. And that took about 6 months. Um, but after that, I was like, hockey. I was like, I need it. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be a better person. I was like, I can do this. I need to focus on a goal, because if not, then what is it all worth? You
Yeah.
know? And I wasn't allowed to go back when I wanted to, so I took that pretty hard too. And then it turns out that I was flunking in school because I couldn't retain anything. My memory was shot for a
What did you go
while.
back to school for? Did you? I don't know
So
if you said.
yeah, so when I first started sled hockey in 16 is when I went to school because I couldn't hold a job. I just
Okay.
couldn't. It was really hard. Um, so I went back to school and I got my associates in arts and my associates in science.
Okay.
I am a natural science major
Nice.
and a business major, believe it or not. So I am a double major in a bachelor's degree as well. I am about 10 credits shy of each for
Nice.
biological sciences with a mastery in chemistry and a bachelor's in business with management organization leadership expertise.
Nice.
So
Good job.
they call that the MOLE program. So I'm
Okay.
not done with those yet, but I'm a little out of my GI Bill. I got 3 months left, so I'm working on a different way to get those finished.
Good deal.
But I couldn't. I just couldn't retain anything. So I was like, time to get a big boy job. So I wound up getting what I thought was my dream job. And I think everything in life so far since getting out the military has geared me toward where I'm heading now, honestly.
Okay.
But I had what I thought was my dream job, which was park ranger. Turns out county jobs are good old boy systems, whether they tell you in orientation or not that it's not. A guy came in with a bachelor's degree in business and all of a sudden demanded that he have a job higher than mine. And when he didn't get that job, a project that I had been given or a project that I created that was told, oh, there's too many red flags in it, was given to him because the higher up said throw him a bone. So I quit and I went to another job. But in between this process, I found that happened after while I was having a amputation done. So in
Okay.
2019, I had the head injury. Took me a while to get back to it. Had to get a big boy job. Couldn't do sled hockey because I mean I didn't have the hours to work uh, to make that work. And then I had it was a year and a half later. I had my amputation done in 2021, September 30th of 2021, and it took me a little while, but not as long as most people, surprisingly. I had what was called a TMR, targeted muscle reinnervation surgery, done at the exact same time as my amputation. I think I was under the knife for almost 18 hours, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's where they do the amputation and take all the nerves. So what they usually do for an amputation is they take all the nerves and they just snip them and let them rebound right back into the body like rubber bands.
Okay.
But for me, they actually took every single nerve ending that was still viable and they sewed it back into the muscle groups they belong to give me a little bit more recovery time and well, not recovery time, but a little bit better recovery and less chances of like neuromas and stuff.
Okay.
So I was one of the first few people in the United States to have it done in the VA system.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I think it was a good success because I think it was a success because I think they're doing it now more so than they were in the past.
Oh, good.
So I'm glad that I get to be a part of that. Um, and then yeah, after the amputation, I was like, I need to focus on the good stuff because during the recovery time for my amputation, everything swarmed back. The feeling helpless, the not being able to do something about my situation, the feeling like I'm trapped. I mean, it was COVID era
Yeah.
still. I couldn't even have my wife come and visit me, really. So you're in there by yourself all the time, and all you
Yeah.
got is the doctors and the nurses there. You got your physical therapy, your OT, your rec therapy, and I because I was a dancer, they involved dance movement therapy as well. And let me tell you, I think that helped out a lot with my prosthetics
Good.
journey because first thing we did once I got my first prosthetic is went dance with her. Brittany out of the James A. Haley. She's our dance movement therapist there, and let me tell you, she's good. And that leads into how I met Brad actually. Oh, sorry, I'm getting the dogs a treat so they continue to behave.
What was that?
I said sorry, I was getting the dogs a treat so they continue to behave.
Oh no, you're good. How many dogs
So
you got?
I've got two, and one is my service dog.
Nice. What kind of dogs
Yeah.
are they?
Uh, my service dog is a boxer, and then
No,
I've
I
got a
love
pit mix.
boxers.
Oh
Nice.
yeah. So sorry,
I
this
got
is
it.
I have a very very long story. Like there's been a lot that's happened, and these are honestly just some of the tidbits, the bigger parts of it.
Take all the time you want. I like we have no time frame. We can talk as long as you want. I
Okay.
love hearing the stories. I hope this is therapeutic for you. I hope it's impactful for you. I hope it's good and helps you just to talk
You
and
know,
to let it out and to let you know that someone else cares.
it does, honestly, and,
Good.
we'll get into the winter sports clinic here later, and you're gonna understand why I decided to do this.
Good.
Because this is, like, one of the very first times that I actually go into all of this with somebody publicly,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Okay. Well, let's pick back up and
alright.
tell us how you met Brad.
Alright, so, while I'm in, recovery for my amputation in 2021, it's
Can I
2022
interrupt real
now.
quick? Sorry. Where can you explain your amputation? Below knee, foot?
Okay, so
It was your
yeah,
foot, right?
so I am a below knee, right below knee amputee.
Okay.
So, yeah, I use really good prosthetics now. The prosthetics team, again, James A. Haley in Tampa. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, the VA has its issues, but my actual care team, the people that I deal with on a day to day basis, has really made the largest impact on my life.
That's
You
awesome.
know, um, but yeah, I went through that dark time, and I was doing dance movement therapy. And the time now is 2022. It's like in January, I'm going back into the VA, learning how to walk with a prosthetic. And I'm impatient again. And Brendan Cleveland, the dance movement therapist, comes in and she's like, "Nope, we're gonna dance." And I mean, I hate ballet with a passion. Let me tell you, okay, freaking hate it. And she made me do ballet, which actually really helped with my balance and my movements. Before we got into the nitty gritty. And she goes, "There's this thing called Creative Arts Festival, and I want you to enter into it." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." I was like, "I'm okay right here. I'm good." So things go by. Well, I lost my mom to cancer during this time. It was February 27th, sorry, January 27th of 2022 when my mom passed from brain and lung cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
And I was still out there, trying to walk. My mom didn't get to see me walk with my prosthetic and see me, the way I am now. And my family took it really hard because, like I said, I was in the beginning, I was my family's primary caregiver, you know, and they took it hard because I didn't make it to the funeral,
Yeah.
and all of that bottled up. And another dark moment came through again, and Brittany's like, "Nope, we're gonna do something, and you're gonna, it's gonna help you." And so we focused on my recovery. And instead of submitting like a full dance video, I wound up submitting a recovery video to the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival, which won first place nationally
Nice.
the first time I did it.
Oh yeah.
So, um, I'm doing all that and starting sled hockey back up again,
Okay.
because during that recovery process, while making that video, I said I needed to do something for myself. I needed to, like, collectively figure out, what am I going to do with myself? What makes me the happiest? And there's just something about getting on that ice
Yeah.
that kind of makes everything kind of disappear, you know? So we focused on that. I created a video that showed my, um I guess, my resiliency is the word I'm going to use,
Okay.
to go from having a leg to not having the leg and recovering. And when I won first place nationally with it, she's like, "Hey, we're going to St. Louis." Well, I also did my first ever interview with the VA, which gave a broad description of what I told you about what happened to me and how I lost my leg.
Okay.
It was one of the hardest things I had ever done, and it got aired through the VA systems. It was all over the VA Facebook page. Well, I didn't realize that it had gotten to everybody that was there at the Creative Arts Fest. So we show up in St. Louis, which coincidentally I also had my national championships for sled hockey the exact same week.
Oh wow.
So I am somehow going back and forth to both, you
Both the
know,
Creative Arts Festival and a sled hockey
and
tournament.
the sled hockey tournament. So
Wow,
that
you're
was a
busy.
lot all
Yep.
in that. You know, we came in third place, unfortunately, for the sled hockey tournament. It just wasn't our year. It was my first year back too, so I was kind of rusty, you know. But during the whole week at Creative Arts Fest, the first thing that happened when I showed up is people were like, "Oh, I know you. You're Wendy." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How do you know me?" They're like, "Oh, your video." They're like, "I have to tell you, you don't realize how many people go through that, and you speaking up, you know, made a huge difference." And it hit me like a brick wall. And I was like, "Wait." I was like, "What video are you talking about? Because that doesn't sound like the video I submitted." And
Yeah.
they were like, "Your interview." And then they showed me how it was posted, and I was like, I knew that they were going to post it, you know, they told me what they were going to do with it, but I didn't realize that that many people were going to see it.
Yeah.
And so everybody came and was talking to me and stuff, and it was, like I said, hitting a brick wall. Like it hit me hard, hit me really hard, which I think really impacted my sled hockey skills that tournament too, because I couldn't focus on anything.
Yeah.
I was panicking, having a couple pseudo seizures while I was up there, you know. And Brad, this is where Brad comes in. He was there, and he was like part of the whole get up where they set up the stage, they do everything and whatnot. Well, he's on the stage and we're coming. It's Sunday, it's showtime. We got to get up there and do that. All I had to do was walk on that stage and take a bow. That was it. And I almost could not do it.
Wow.
I had a huge panic attack, and I was like, I can't do this, you know? And he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, yes, you can." I was like, "After all the stuff that you've been through, this is the least of your worries." He's like, "All you gotta do is walk out, put a smile on, that big old smile that you got that everybody loves, and bow. That's it." He's like, "What you're doing is making a huge difference." And he's like, "You can do this." And he's like, "And I'm gonna be right here for you, you know?" And I did it.
Good.
I cried my eyes out as soon as that curtain closed when I was behind it again, and like had to take a second before sitting back on the stool to sing the last thing that I still couldn't stop the tears from coming down, you know? But I did it, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the legit like first time that I had met Brad, was on that stage getting ready. He came and told me that he loved my video. He thought it was inspirational, and that's why, you know, they wanted to show it on the big screen during the actual stage show that they were putting on at the end of everything, you know. And it makes a difference for people because they get seen,
Yeah.
you know. And so we're moving forward from that, right? I come home. I met some really good people there. Well, like I said, my story has a lot of bits and pieces here and there as to how I got to be the person I am. One of those people, his name is Paul Claudak. He was a Marine veteran. I actually met him in Miami on a Wounded Warrior Project honor ride from Miami to the Keys. And like I said, I was in a bad place around that time when I met Paul, and he stopped me from doing some really stupid stuff. You know, he saw the pain behind the smile, and he we were down in the Keys, and it was like a little tiki hut area that they were doing stuff with, and he says, "Don't make me put these coconuts on." He's like, "We're gonna talk about this, you know." And he's like, "Even if we sit here all damn night," he's like, "we're gonna talk." He's like, "Because I don't want you to do anything stupid." He told me, he's like, "Suicide is for cowards.
Yeah.
Take an easy way out," is what he said, you know. Well, the day that I fly back from St. Louis, the first time that I met Paul, there's a message on Facebook from Paul, and it was his suicide note. He sent his wife and child out and then pulled the trigger before anybody can get to him. So Um, so all the pressure from the tournament and all the pressure from the tournament and the creative arts fest and everybody kind of hearing my story and me feeling like I actually had people who understood and believed, it was so much. It became so much. And then for him to do that, it was like, what hope do I have if the man who stopped me couldn't stop himself? You know?
Yeah.
It was during the summertime. Then, like, all the tournaments were over with. There was nothing more to do. Like, there was no more hockey. There was nothing. So I just went back home to my job and sat with that. And there goes the VA again. I had some I during my amputation process. I got paired up with another therapist for TBI and PTSD, and Dr. Miles, and she's still my therapist through to this day because
Good.
she's had that big of an impact on me. She had reached out. She's like, "No, I just want to check in with you." She's like, "There was some notes here saying that that I should probably check in," and because Brittany knew what had happened and shared it because she saw me starting to go down the path again. And the first thing Brittany was is like, "Hey, why don't we transition this into something again?" And I said, "You know what? I know exactly what I want to do." So the second video is by far my favorite video that I had submitted, that also won first place the very next year for the Creative Arts Festival. And it was about getting back to who we are, and I highlighted, all the medications that we take for the PTSD, the trauma that we have, the PTSD, the MST, the amputation, the just everything, And when I put that in the video, I also highlighted the losses. It wasn't all the losses, it wasn't every single brother and sister that I have lost. It was a highlight of what most soldiers have to deal with. I started out with Christopher Drake, dying in IED, or the mortar round rather, in Afghanistan, and then moved over to Allie Beasley, who died of cancer, and then went to one of my good buddies who actually had my back while I was deployed, that saw some of the things that was happening to me, that wrote the sworn statement. Jeffrey Barrett, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And then the last one that I put on there was Paul Klodek for suicide. And then I showed, like, through all the injuries, and I showed the injuries, I showed the recovery process for it, and I changed it into a positive ending where, you just have to get back to the things that you love. The fishing, the shooting, the horseback riding, the sled hockey, and we won our seashell tournament that year. So I put that in there to signify that you can win again. You can overcome it and do something great with it. And then I showed how I won first place in the National Creative Arts Fest and brought that into the fold as well. And then I showed my wife and I dancing for the first and probably the last time, because she is not a dancer at all. Straight up says nope. So at least it's on video.
There you go. Got
you
one
know,
memory
and
for it. There you go.
it made a very, very huge impact. But like I said, I met Brad again for the second time the very next year at the Creative Arts Fest for that again. Only this time
And what
I
year
was
would have this been?
let's see, 22, 23, I believe.
Okay. That's a couple years.
Maybe
Okay.
24. I think it was 24. I can't remember, honestly. It was a couple
Okay.
years ago.
A couple years ago, you met him for the second time.
Yeah, I went
Got
for the
it. Okay.
second time. And yeah, it It was rough. I still, to this day, when I watch the video, I can't look at the losses because it's still that painful, you know? Those
Yeah.
are really good people, and they're really hard losses. They have painful memories that come with them.
Yeah.
Um but I really honed in on the hockey, and I was like, what am I living for? What would Paul have wanted? You know, if he was here and he was strong enough, what would I say to him? You know? And I would say the same thing that he said, which is we're stronger than what we believe we are, you know? And I
Yeah.
wish that I could have done that for him. You know, and I know he's got people that were closer up there to him, but he did something for me that nobody really knew. And that will forever be one hell of a bond.
Yeah.
And I'll still remember what he did. And if he can't do it, then I'm going to do it for him. You know? So I picked up my sticks again, and I said, "Screw it. I'm going for the national team."
Nice.
And I'm still currently working for that period. Like every day is a new challenge, but I add more challenges with it as well, because I don't want an opportunity to go away where I might be able to do something great. So I started doing sled hockey even more. I went to developmental camps. I went to the women's national tryouts and learned a lot more of what I needed to do to make the team, hopefully in the future. And I advocate for the sport a lot. So much so that I also am doing stand up hockey now.
Brad told me about that. I was
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. I forgot he's
So
mentioned that, and I'm like, I've got to hear more about that. So
so I I wanted to do something more. I created another video that I shared on TikTok. Um where the first part is talking about how, hey, when life knocks you down, you're gonna fall. The biggest difference is you have to get back up again. And I framed it in a video where I'm literally falling on my ass on the ice, and I stand up with the goal. I start using a goal post to walk around the ice to skate, because I've never really skated before in my life. Really, maybe once or twice in a rink, and I wasn't really that great.
okay.
And then when the prosthetics lab, Bill and Mike Cartel. So William Conroy and Mike Cartel, they are my guys, as I call them, in the prosthetics and orthotics lab. So I went from Mike Cartel being my personal guy to over to Bill whenever I went from orthotics to prosthetics. And they were like, nah, if anybody can do it, when you can do it. Like, just try skating. Let's do it. We can get you a
Mm.
cool badass skate, and we're gonna put it in there, and you're gonna skate. And I was like, you have a lot of faith in me. So I did it. So
So they
on the
built you a prosthetic skate.
it's not like they built it, but it was one that was, they got me a higher performing one. So it's called Biodeck.
Okay.
It's prosthetic, which is coincidentally the exact same thing that I need for snowboarding too. So we're working our way to that one.
Nice.
But on the 4-year anniversary, let's see, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 4-year anniversary, on September 30th, on a freaking Saturday, I showed up at the ice rink with a large support system from the VA, which was great. I think there was like 5 of us there all together, which was amazing, because they don't realize, like the VA doesn't realize how much that helps to have people believe in you and that want to show up. They're fighting for a chance to go and do these things with you.
Right.
So that way they can see you succeed, because they want you to know that you have that person standing behind you. But to
That's
have
that's
those
that's
people
the
in it,
Brad. That's the
yeah.
Brad of the
Yeah.
VAs.
Hey,
That
that's
guy.
him too. That's him too. And I wish
Yeah.
he was in my VA. I really do. But he does a lot of good things on those programs and whatnot. But yeah, I had like 4 or 5 people out on the ice with me, and it was just me and them. And we recorded almost the entire hour that we had. I was only on the ice for an hour. That's what we were given, because the rink is called the Nest Christian Academy, and they are amazing. They love their veterans, and they donate ice time to us to allow us to do that when we get like new things for prosthetics or orthotics, like our new buckets, sled buckets. They give us a chance with the VA to come out on the ice and adjust and fix and do stuff for our veterans.
Oh yeah.
So they're really, really great place they got there, you know. Um, but I'm out there for that hour and I go from sliding on my butt to skating on my own. We did a total of, I think, like 5 or 6 adjustments with the leg itself. And that was it. I was skating around the rink by myself, no
Nice.
hands. You can hardly tell what leg it was. And
That's
I started the
fantastic.
right. I started the very next day with the Lightning Warriors. It's their all veteran team. Um, and I did not know what I was really getting myself into. Let's put it to you that way. But it was hockey. And all the guys, like the one guy comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, he's like shin splinter, you know what, aren't they?" And I was like, so's like not having a leg." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
Eh.
He's like, "Oh no." he's he felt
You
like a
know,
duck.
I love the humor that amputees and disabled people get. You know,
Yeah.
we have a guy here in Salt Lake. I actually don't even know his original name, but he changed his name to Feet. He had
Feet.
both of his feet. He had both of his legs blown off in Iraq, and I met
Mm,
him playing sled hockey, and same type of thing. I made some comment about my feet being cold or something. I make some comment, and he kind of like, well, some like you don't have that problem if you don't have legs, or something
right.
like that. But this last winter we have a special needs son, Alex, who skis up
Yeah.
at the National Ability Center in Park City every year. And I took him up for one of his ski lessons, and we were coming back down. I was sitting there, and I saw Feet, and I'm like, I swear that's him. It's got to be him. And so I just kind of walked over. I'm like, "Are you Feet?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hey, it's Sterling. Good to meet you again." He's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you." And I came back home. I was telling my wife about that, and she's like, "Hold on, hold on, hold on. You asked someone that you weren't even sure that that's who it was, Feet?" And I'm like, "Oh damn, I didn't. Yeah, that was probably not a good move." But no, it was him. It was awesome. But yeah, sorry, little segue there.
Oh, no, that's great. That's great, man. That's really great. Well, on that first practice, I fell down a lot, a lot, a lot. Like, I didn't even know how to get the hell up. I was like scooting on my knees, like trying to make it to the bench to get some support to pull myself up. And so we had Bugsy, Ryan Malone from he's a retired Lightning player. He was there with us as one of our coaches. And he's like skating around. So apparently he heard a rumor that I only had one leg. So he's like running, well, not running, but he was skating fast to kind of help me stand up and stuff like that. So we're waiting on a drill. And he skates up to me, he stands next to me, he goes, "So I heard you only have one leg." And I was like, "Well, technically have many, but I can only wear one at a time." And he just skates off. He's like, "I'm done."
Yep. Oh, love it.
So it was really, really cool, you know. And all the players that are on the Lightning team, the Warrior team, it's a bond for sure.
Yeah.
All of them have kind of like helped me out, taught me stuff and have, promoted that sense of well-being for me to continue to try and to do. Like I skate well enough now that like I can volunteer for their learn to play programs where they ask for volunteers to go help all these younger
Go
kids
teach the
learn
new groups. Yeah.
how to play, And let me tell you something, it is something when those little kids come up to you and you're like, "No, I'm not going to ask her." And they're just like, "Hi." And they skate off. They're
Yeah.
asking all the other coaches, "What happened to her leg?" And then finally, when they get brave enough, they're like, "What happened to your leg?" And I was like, shark attack."
Yeah.
Or like, and they're like, "Really?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "No." I was like, "I got hurt in the military, buddy." And they're like, "Oh, how?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "We're just gonna leave it at that. I got hurt in the military, okay, buddy." And so like some of them they'll try you and they'll come and ask you multiple times because they want you to say it again, and I'll
Yeah.
come up with different stories like, "Oh, I got mad at something and I kicked the wall."
Yeah.
Something like that. Something to get the kids to like a little lesson like, hey, don't do stupid stuff, um but it's tons of fun, and like it encourages me to continue to do that, because when you're a service member, it literally means you're one who likes to service people. Like, you have that calling to serve.
Absolutely.
And when I get to volunteer for these programs, man, it does something to me. It gives me that self fulfilling moment of, hey, I'm doing something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
You know, and when I started stand up hockey with the Lightning Warriors, it has given me that opportunity to feel that again. Like I'm doing something. And I have been able to skate well enough that I get to travel now to
Wow.
Dallas in a couple of weeks for the Nationals with the stand up Lightning Warrior team. And I keep
Heck
saying
yeah.
stand up because it's very confusing sometimes when you play on three different teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I play on two sled teams and one stand up team.
Dang, you're
So
busy.
I try to be. I try to get as much ice time as possible. That's actually my wife who just walked through the door.
Oh,
So, but yeah, that led. So all of that all together has led. Like when I first started with the stand up hockey team, that's when they kind of wormed their way in again. I was like, oh, Wendy, you need to do Winter Sports Clinic. They're like, just do it
yep.
already. And they're like, if you can stand up skate, you can go snowboard or ski. And I was like, fine. So I signed up for the Winter Sports Clinic, and I made the cut apparently. And I got to go up there for my first year in Snowmass, Colorado, where again, I get to see my favorite person, Brad.
That's awesome. And that was
And
this year, yeah?
that was this year. Literally
Okay.
just got home yesterday from Snowmass.
Awesome.
Yeah. I just got home last night from Snowmass, and let me tell you, that program, it was the 40th annual Winter Sports Clinic for the National Veterans, VA deal. I went through a lot of stuff this past week. A lot. Like I said, I guess it's called imposter syndrome, where everybody's like, oh my God, you're great, you're great, you're great, but I still don't feel like I'm as great as they say.
Yeah.
So it took a toll on me. Like, there was a lot of new firsts. So one thing they don't say about traumatic brain injury a lot is about the neuroplasticities within your brain to be able to take the parts that have died and the neurons that are there to replace them in different parts of your brain. So, and by doing that, you have to literally do more. You have to. You have to get out there, you have to try more new things and associate those memories and stuff with those neurons, so that way the memory can regenerate itself. Like, my memory has gotten so much better by doing all these new things. Like, even every single day that I'm on that ice, I'm doing something new. I'm working on something harder. So it's a new muscle, it's a new feeling, it's a new movement, whatever it is, and it helps. It helps
Oh, yeah.
drastically. And so I was like, screw it. We're going to go bigger. We're going to go home, baby. What are you going to do, Winnie? Oh, I'm going to snowboard. I've never seen this much snow in my entire life. I've never made a decent snowman. And yet I'm going to go for snowboarding. Let's go, And they
Nice.
looked at me and was like, you've never, like, this is your first year? I was like, my first year. And they're like, and you're going to go with snowboarding. I was like, why not? And they're like, are you sure? And I was like, we could do a monoski. I was like, I do sled hockey. I'm not going to do monoski. Mind you, I know. It's completely different when you're sitting in a monoski that's like 3 feet higher
Yep.
than a sled that's like maybe 3 inches from the ice,
Yeah.
But I feel like I would probably get the hang of doing that a heck of a whole lot faster than I would do snowboarding. And they tried to say, hey, let's do ski or something. And I was like, nope. I've got my heart set on the hardest thing that there is,
Take
and
the
that's what I was
challenge.
told. I was like,
Absolutely.
if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it the whole way. I was like, ever since I was a kid and watched like Cloud9 and Johnny Tsunami on Disney Channel, I was like, let's go, baby. And I had two amazing snowboard instructors, Gary and Aharani, or I hope I'm saying that. We call him Ronnie, okay? And they were Ronnie was very, very cautious with me. He's like, oh, hold my hands, hold my hands. The whole time he was, I can tell his nervousness because,
Yeah.
I just told them, A, I'm freaking fresh. I've never seen this much
Yeah.
snow. B, I'm an amputee. And C, we're going for the hardest thing, go big or go home. So he brought me up the little bunny hill the first day. So Monday morning, uh, we were the first group on the hill. Now, mind you, this is the first time ever there's been like no snow. Like I'm thinking, hey, I'm coming to a winter wonderland. It's gonna be all white. I brought all this heavy gear, keep myself warm while I'm trying something new up in the high altitudes of Colorado. And I'm like, man, I gotta take this jacket off. Like, oh my gosh, it's hot.
So
And
Colorado
I
had a bad winter too, then, huh?
very, very bad. Like it was green,
Jeez.
and I'm allergic to pine. And oh my gosh, I was sneezing. Like my
Oh
voice is
my
still
gosh.
recovering from the allergies. But we get up there, we go on that little bunny hill, as they call it. Going up the magic carpet ride,
Yep.
first time ever. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? So he keeps me like half strapped in, and he's showing me, this is how you stop. Turns out I am a better toe stopper than I am a heel stopper. Okay. Because I play hockey. All of my sports are forward motion moving. So it's easier for me to drag that toe than it is for me to heel it. And plus, I'm
Yep.
a dancer. Where do dancers spend 90% of their time?
On the tippy toes.
On their tippy toes, the ball of their feet. So once he got through that, he's going through where I'm starting to pick up a little speed. I'm learning how to shift my weight and go forward to back. I'm falling tons of time. Like it's so funny. I really hope the VA puts out like the 10-minute video that they created at the end of closing ceremony, because I'm in that thing like 6 times. Most of them for falling.
Falling.
But I'm going down like this snow that literally looks like a Slurpee that comes from 7-Eleven, okay? That's what the snow looked and felt like, was Slurpees. And I was getting discouraged on my way up the gondola, because let me tell you, you have other vets that are going to this program that have done it like 12 years, okay?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is crappy snow. Oh, this is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bro, I could make a snowman in this, bro. Like,
Yeah.
do you want to build a snowman? Yes, I do. Like, let's go, Elsa. Let it go. you
Yeah.
know? So I'm like panicking. I'm the last person for my instructors to come and find me while I'm sitting there. And when they finally do, and I get on that mountain and I'm doing these things, and they're like, oh my God, you're doing it. He's like, okay, we're going to try with less hands this time. I go up and down the magic carpet ride on that one side for, I want to say, about 5 to 10 times. And then he's like, okay, we're going to go on the other side of the hill now. So we go up the magic carpet ride, we go all the way over, and then the snowboard, the one of the head snowboard instructors come by, and she's like, apparently she's like an Olympian for snowboarding or something. And she comes by, she's like, hey, I've been seeing you. She's like, you're looking like you're getting it. She's like, that's a good thing. She's like, and you moved over to this side. She's like, do you mind if I join you? I was like, no, not at all. So I'm going down, and I'm finally like starting to like not really hold hands and stuff. And I'm like cutting the turns, doing the
Starting to
serpentine, as I
carve.
call it. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm doing the serpentines, going one side to the next side to the next side, stopping on my toes and learning to stop on my heels and stuff like that. And we get down the mountain. I'm like, yeah, I did it. Hey, And she goes, how long have you been in? I was like, how many hours have we
Couple
been out
hours.
here? I was like, how many hours? I was like, and she's like, wait, you're brand new? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my God. She's like, that is impressive. And I was like, you're just blowing smoke on my ass, lady. Like, what? I was like, that's horrible. And so I just keep going. I was like, well, thank you. I was like, I love the encouragement, and I just keep trying and trying and trying, and I keep going. Well, we're going through the very next day, I decide, so that's all over with. We're going down the mountain, and I'm like, okay, wow, that was a lot, you know, and just got to take a little bit of a step back and acknowledge that, hey, this is amazing, you know. Then the very next day, on a Tuesday, I decide that I'm going to knock off another bucket list item. I'm going to go and sit in a hot spring, a natural hot spring. Never done it before. I was like, let's go. Well,
Nice.
I kind of screwed myself over on that, let me tell you, because they had something called the inhale and exhale pools there, which is like the 55-degree pool and then the 75-degree pool. So I did it. I was like, my therapist says, hey, do the cold plunge. If you can last at least 10 to 15 minutes, it helps out with your anxiety. Oh yeah, it definitely helped out my anxiety, all right, because my butt was freezing the rest of the time. I couldn't regulate my body temp
Yeah.
after that for a little bit. I was like, what is going on here? You know? And the hot spring was amazing though. Like getting in that very very hot water was amazing. So we did the cold plunge, did the normal thing to not like kill our system, and then got into the hot tub basically. And then yeah, that kind of set the tone for the rest of the week there. So like I'm like freezing, my body's doing weird stuff, and I'm like I'm up at high altitude. I'm living in Florida, okay? To go from
Yeah.
Florida to the tip of the mountain up in snowmass,
Up the Mile
like
High State.
it's
Yeah.
like, what the heck is going on? Like, you can't breathe. Like, doing steps, like, oh no, we don't take steps in Colorado. No way. I was like, it'll make you feel like you're out of shape faster than a fat kid at a donut shop, bro. Like, let's
Nice.
go. Like, wow, it took the wind out of you. Just 3 steps, and you're like, you know.
Wow.
But but yeah, like I get a massage, and then I go out with the guys, and then I own everybody in the pool table, and it kind of created a little bit of a name for myself out there. They call me Shark now. um, but Wednesday, I have the afternoon session. I'm starting to freak out a little bit. I'm like, all right. I was like, what am I gonna do? Well, first and foremost, before I even go out on the mountain, I took my second chance because I tried getting in with some of these programs before, like DAV and Wounded Warrior Project, to get them to help me. Well, it's like COVID era and stuff like that. They just forgot about me somehow.
Okay.
Well, DAV was there, and I went and I sat down and I talked with the DAV representative in Denver, and I finally got like that hope back because I showed them what I had and said, "Hey, listen, they're trying to tell me that my back injury is not it's hereditary, it's not service connected, but yet I have new MRIs. Now I have sleep apnea and all that stuff from all the PTSD and not being able to sleep because I'm scared I'm going to deck my wife in my sleep or something, you know."
Yeah.
Like all of that plays a toll, you know? And I sat there in that office thinking, "Oh, they're not going to help me." Like it's the same old Wendy, but it was the complete opposite. Like now I have somebody who's going to actually help me work for my disability claim to where I can try and live even better than what I am right now, you know? So I did that. So I was all in my feelings, got back up on that mountain, and the first thing Arani told me was, okay, so we have two choices. We can go back on the bunny with the magic carpet ride, and we can do some more practicing, and then we can go up the hill. But my recommendation, we just go straight up the freaking hill.
Send it.
And I was like, well, let's do it. I was like, balls to the wall, let's go, baby. I have never been on a ski lift in my life, and I am terrified of heights.
Oh boy.
And it's one of those things where like you got that one little metal bar like that thick that you have that like drops down in front of you, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna die today. I was like, oh no. I'm like death gripping everything that I can on this thing, like don't die, don't die, don't die, you know? And then he's like, you want us to slow it down when you get off? And I was like, how else am I gonna get off like this? Like, what, does it not stop at the end? Like, what are we doing here, Ronnie? You know? And he goes, we're going to slow it down. He's like, I'm not going to stop it because I want you. He's like, you're a fast paced learner. He's like, I want you to get the feeling. So it went horrible the first couple of times. I must have went up that mountain like three to like 5 times. And it was really, really cool because every time, like I learned, like first and foremost, don't hang the freaking snowboard on your prosthetic leg. Don't do that. Don't do that. Now, we actually had a guy out there. He was an above knee amputee. His whole leg and the snowboard dropped to the snow.
Oh
from
no.
Yeah. I was like, where was
Oh,
the blooper on that, baby? Like, that was prime time television right there.
that
So I was like,
the
nope, can't do that.
the
And
prosthetic came off with the
with the
snowboard and
snowboard.
fell.
Yeah,
Oh
onto the
gosh.
ground. Yeah, it was so funny to hear that news. Like, not me. I was like, nope, can't be me. So we swapped the feet and whatnot and whatnot. So, but the last 2 times that I went up the ski lift, I got off on my own. It
Good.
was really, really empowering. You know, he was like, I'm not helping you this time. He's like, you're gonna do this all on your own. I was like, all right, let's go. And I did it, and it was really, really, really cool. So they set up
Yeah.
like this cool little race thing, right? Where you gotta go in between around these little markers, as they call it, and threw from one height down to the bottom or whatever, and they time you. Don't ask me what my time is. I really don't know. And I didn't really care about the time. I just wanted to do it to say that I can do it. I did both races by myself, no assisting whatsoever. And the second time I did it, so the first time I did the race, like the video literally, I was like, I'm off to the Wonderland, guys, going to the woods. I forgot to tow and I freaked out a little bit. I was like, oh no, here come the trees. Like I didn't fall down. Like I was just off to the wilderness, you know?
Oh boy.
But I figured it out. I towed back. I came back, right? And well, when the second time I went, I did way better. But I felt a little bit more pressure because there was a ski person media with the GoPro following me down. They were waiting for me to do it again. And she was following me down the mountain and stuff. And I cut right in front of her. I was like, oh no. I was like, oh, I'm going to cut her off. And I flipped forward, did a barrel roll, landed back on my board and finished and cut 7 seconds off my original time.
Wow.
And I became a lot better at heel stopping during that time too. But it was different, you know, just being cut loose to do it on my own. It was
awesome.
really, really, really cool. So it was a lot. It was a lot, and it was bittersweet, you know. Well, second, you know, like I said, it was like a slushy. That's what we were like snowboarding on and stuff, was like slush.
Yeah.
I don't know what good snow is, so I'm gonna say it was great, no matter what.
Well, I tell you, come out to Utah sometime, but we had a terrible winter this year as well.
I've heard.
Awful. I think it snowed twice in the valley.
What?
Nothing stuck for longer than a couple hours. We got a little bit of snow in the mountains, but it was terrible. And we're supposed to have the Olympics here in what, another 4 years, 8 years, 2032.
We were told that hopefully next year will be better. Apparently, this is like a once in like 100 years type of deal. So I'm hoping for better conditions next year when I come back, because I'm gonna come back for sure. But yeah, at the bottom of the little hill that we come down where everybody's like staged at, where it's like the end of everything, there was like a mountain of slush. And it didn't matter whether I tried the toe stop, whether I tried the heel stop. It didn't freaking matter if I tried to like bump over it. You were going down. And I think that's where they got most of my blooper reels from, because I would come down. I tell you what, man, let me say something. I fell so hard on my butt one time. You know that video where that guy goes to sit on the bar stool and it fucking collapses and the bowl goes right up his hoo-ha?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I need a second, Ronnie. I need a second. I was like, oh my God. I was like, woo. I was like, still better than falling on ice though, because I've had way harder falls in the ice rink than I have ever had up there on that mountain. Yeah. So, but it was one of the most humbling experiences for me, honestly, you know, to see that I still could do something cool. Yeah. You know, I was on my way down from the mountain after everything was said and done, and I'm just looking back at the mountain, and I was like, man, I was like, for not having good snow, I was like, I'm proud of myself. I did it. And I did it by myself today, you know? Well, the next day, so that's on Wednesday. Thursday comes. I mean, they pack all kind of stuff into this. It's freaking amazing, you know, what they do for us up there. Well, Thursday comes around and I'm like bored. I'm like, I need to do something. I was like, I need to center myself. And I was like, screw it. I decided that I wasn't going to do sled hockey during this week, because I was told that it was going to be boring. It was going to be slow. I was going to hate it. Well, that all teach me not to listen to nobody, because I make things what they are. Yeah. We all have that ability to make the best of any situation. So I said, screw it. I see Jerry here. Jerry and I have been talking, and he's like, well, we got program sleds. I was like, well, that's not my sled, Jerry. And he's like, who cares? And I was like, you know what, Jerry? You're right. Who cares? I love the ice. So I get out there, right? I go out there, and Brad and I are on the same bus, and we're just chilling out. We're like, and he gets up there, and he's like, hey, I'm just going to warn everybody now, watch out for her. You know, he has seen me play before, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, just watch out for her. Like she's an athlete, man. She's an expert at this stuff, you know, is what he was telling everybody on the bus. So immediately everybody's looking to see what jersey I grab. because they all want to be on my team. Ain't none of them wants to play against
There you
me.
go.
So we get on the ice. Well, before we get on the ice, I go in the locker room and I grab my number. My lucky number is 21. You know, it's the year that I had my amputation. It was the year that I decided that I was going to take my freaking life back. And also, come on, it's the world's it's one of the best freaking stand up female players out there. Hillary Knight. It's her
Yeah.
number. You know, so I wound up with an amazing number that has kind of been like my comfort number, my favorite number going forward, right? So I
Yeah.
find a helmet that says 21 on it and I grab it. And it's the blue helmet because I kind of like blue more than red. So I grab it and I put it over by my bag and I take a program sled. I go outside and I try and fit myself to one. And then I like carnage the entire thing. I get a set of tools from somebody else who plays on our Florida sled team for straight veterans called the Sled Guardians that we created last year. And I grab his tools and I'm like tearing it all apart, switching the blades around, making them closer, shortening the thale, trying to get something close to what I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And get it first time go, get out there. These sticks are definitely not the sticks I'm used to playing with. The sled's heavy, it's different. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let's go, baby. This is training, boo. Like, if you could do it in a better sled, show them how you could do it in a worse sled.
Yeah.
So I'm out there and I'm like pushing, I'm getting my bearings back in the new sled and whatnot, because it's different when you go from one thing to the next. And I'm out there and I see all the other women out there. And I'll say, you know what? I was like, hey, ladies, come here. I was like, you see this? I was like, do it this way. I was like, it's not so much like this. I was like, yeah, they tell you use the rower and stuff like for working out. But the truth is, those aren't that's not the motion you're doing. Your sticks are straight, parallel with your body while you are sitting in the sled. So I was like, imagine like you're sitting on that one machine that everybody hates with the two handlebars like this with the death grip, and you're pulling it straight back to your body. That's the motion you want to get. And so I'm working with them, and then the guys are coming around. They're asking me questions. They can see that I'm just zooming around the ice like no problem, no care in the world. I'm ripping that freaking puck top shelf all the time, just screwing with it, switching over from hand to hand. And they're like, oh my God. They're like, I don't want to play against you. And I was like, you should. I was like, because in order to get better, you have to play better.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go. You got this. And I started working with all of them before we even like convened and stuff. And they're all like, that's cool. And the lady's like, this is easier. Hey, this is cool, because what people don't realize is that the women's Paralympic sled hockey team has not made it to the Olympics yet. The men's team have been there quite a few times, but there weren't enough women's team to go to the Paralympics yet. But I think we're there. We're very, very close to it. They're pushing for 2030 for the very first ever women's sled hockey in the Paralympics. So, I mean, kudos to all the women that have been working so hard for the past decade to make this happen. I look up to them. I try to learn the most that I can from them. And it sucks that we're so far spread apart that I don't have that opportunity like some of them do to practice with one another and play. We don't have enough women's camps for us to be able to go out there and learn, because believe it or not, there is still that that difference between the men and the women. The coaches are more willing to coach the men than they are the women.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be probably faster than us. I mean, it's just physiologically impossible for most of us women, just like on foot races. It's hard for the women to surpass a man just because of the way our bodies are built. But those women are fast, make no mistake. They hold their own. And it's not always about speed. It's about the smarts of knowing the game, reading the puck play, and knowing where to be, because you can outsmart any fast player, like hands down. So, I mean, it's a team sport. You cannot win unless you use your teammates.
Absolutely.
It is not a I thing. So, and that's what I like to embody when I do these sports is I like to spread that knowledge, any knowledge that I have to those players, to anybody who will listen, because I want them to love it as much as I do. And because I want to play more. You can't play if you have nobody to play with, So I like to build the sport up. Well, I got hit with a little bit of a curveball in that sled hockey. It wasn't just the sled and the sticks, okay? or the amount of absolutely brand new players that was out there that just have no control whatsoever. They fall over, they jam into you. It's total carnage. It is like what I would consider a what do you call that? The derby, the
Demolition Derby.
the demolition derby. It's almost like demolition derby on ice, bro. Let me tell you,
Yep.
it's amazing. It really is. Like I don't remember. It brings you back to when you first, like, from when I first sat in a sled. Like, it really brought me back to that because that's how I started. Was just like them, and it took me a second to just sit back on that ice and be like, bro, that was me.
Yep.
That was me in the beginning. And for me to just share that knowledge with them, to see all the smiles on their faces. And then, like I said, here's the last curveball they threw at me. We had a blind player out there, completely blind, in a sled. And so we are allowed pushers in sled hockey, as you well
Okay.
know.
Yep.
And so he had a pusher and he was completely blind. And they threw this big ass puck out there. It was like 2 inches tall, 6 inches wide, and it rattled. And it was completely metal. And I'm like, you want me to play on that side with that big old puck? Like, why can't I play on this side and like chuck it and get like my top shots and all that stuff, right? And I was like, you're giving me more disadvantages than I have ever had in sled hockey.
Yeah.
And they put the more advanced players. So they bring us all together. I was like, who are my more advanced players? This chick hit me in the face with her stick as she like slaps it back, like, her. Everybody pointed at me. They didn't point at anybody else. They pointed at me. And there's at least 3 other people who are out there who play on sled teams that I play against or with, and it's like, I felt so honored, to know that my skill was showing through for them to see that, and I felt honored that they felt that way about me, So they separated all of us who had a little bit more skill and whatnot. And they put us on the side with the blind guy with the big ass puck. And I'm sitting there and I'm realizing finally, like, I didn't know that he was blind at first. I just realized that we're playing with a puck that was not the puck that I wanted to play with.
Right.
And I look at him, I was like, you know what, Wendy? I was like, let's make his day. So I'm sitting there and I'm passing this puck, trying to figure it out myself. You can't go under the sled with it, FYI.
Okay.
It's just very impossible. You have to be like straight in order to do so. So I'm like playing with this puck and I was like, hey, let's go, buddy. I was like, put your stick out, your right stick, put it on the ground. And I pass it to him and he catches it and I see a smile. And he throws it back at me and I go get it. And I'm literally like going chasing the puck and bringing it right back to him so he can. And that smile never left his face, man. Never left his face. Let me tell you something. That was one of the most rewarding things that I have ever done, like this past week, was being on that ice with that guy and that veteran who was blind. And we go to do our scrimmage, and I have a video of it. I posted it on Facebook. We do the drop off. I'm sitting in the back. I'm sitting right next to the blind guy. He hears it and he slaps it under him and he comes right to me and I just chuck it and it scores.
Nice.
Score right off the face off, like literally. And I was like, oh my God, you got the assist, man. I was like, look at that. I was like, you're so freaking great. Look at you. You're blind. You can't even see the goal and you made one. You know? And he's like having the time of his life, bro. It was incredible feeling. And right then and there, I was like, Wendy, you need to slow the hell down. Remember what this is about. It's not about you. It's not about you training for anything special. It's about showing these people these veterans, how much they can love this sport as well. So I spent the rest of my time literally setting up shots for people. This one guy, Cedric, he's a double amputee. We swapped people in the net for goalie. And I told him, I was like, dude, I was like, listen, you don't understand what you just did. I was like, you stopped that puck from going into goal and you have no goalie gear. You're not in a goalie sled. I was like, you were meant to play goalie, man. Let's go. So he lives in Minnesota. So I hooked him up with a team in Minnesota. So hopefully he's going to get into the sport. And then I just kept feeding the puck, man. It didn't matter. I mean, I'm zooming in and out of these people who are all these vets that are like falling over, like, and they didn't care if I had blue on me. They were going to take me out anyways on my own team. They're like, oh, I got you, Wendy. And I was like, it'd be better if you get the puck, And I mean, some of the other guys that were more advanced, I mean, they were targeting me. I mean, it's what you got to do. I mean, and they were slamming me right into the boards. They're like, oh, and it just full on derby. Nobody cared about the puck anymore. It's like, who can we hit at this point, right?
Who can I check into the wall?
Yeah, right? And no, we weren't even near the wall half the time. It was mainly like a cluster right there in the middle. And I was like, "Come on, guys, let's go." And I was just I was working with them the whole time, like, hey, you got somebody on the right, push it to your right. Hey, come on, let's throw it up the boards." And I was spent a lot of time circling everybody instead of like chucking it right at the goal to tell them like, hey, get to the goal and like feed them the puck so that way they
Yeah.
can get the goals and stuff so they can feel that success like they did something, you know. And at the end of it, it was really, really humbling because a lot of the women actually came up to me and they were like, I want to do this. This was fun. You made it so easy. You made it look easy. You taught us how to like skate and make it feel a lot nicer than what I've done in the past because some of them had tried it before and didn't like it. And, and I was like, okay, well, where do you live? I was like, all right, you want to talk to this person. Where do you live? You want to talk to that person. Oh, just when you
Excellent.
think there's not a team, guess what? There is a team. We're going to get you there. And then this one guy, he comes over, he's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know if I could commit. I was like, who cares if you commit? Do you like it? And he goes, I love it. I was like, you don't have to travel. If you love it, then why not do it? And I was like,
Yeah.
you don't have to travel to play sled hockey. I was like, they would love just to have you out there for numbers so that way you can be on the ice and play because that's what it's about,
Yep.
you know? And he's like, I never thought of it that way. So he's going to go back and he's actually going to play with the Colorado Avalanche team, you know?
Nice.
Um, but it really like brought a lot of that to light in me. Like, hey, listen, you made, and the blind guy, he gets off the ice and he's got a sister who was helping him, like guide him around and stuff like that. And they came and found me on the last day. I was like, hey, listen, you told us about something called Sonic Hockey. I was like, yeah, it's called Sonic Hockey for the blind. I was like, I know for a fact there's a sled hockey team for blind hockey. And
That is crazy. I did not know that.
you yeah. So and he lives out in Minnesota or something like that, I believe. St. Louis. St. Louis. So he lives in St. Louis. And I gave him a few contact references for him to find so he can do that. Like,
Love it.
because they had like a whole like exhibition where I learned about blind hockey and stuff like that through my years of sled hockey. So I knew it was out there. And then I know this other guy that I've been following on Facebook. He does blind sled hockey as well, and it's called Sonic Hockey.
Okay.
And it was really, really cool to be able to put him in contact with some people and for him to be able to go and do this thing for fun, because seeing the joy on his face was all that mattered. I
I
mean,
love that they're doing that. They found an adaptive way to help the blind with sled hockey. I never would have thought that with,
yeah,
like the puck that rattles, makes the noise
yeah,
so they can do that. I was watching the Paralympics this year. I've got another friend, Orlando, who I played with here
uh-huh.
at the Salt Lake City BA, and he's gone on to do the snowmass and all the winter sports clinics, and he competed this year in the Paralympics. He
Oh,
also
in
competed,
Milan.
yeah, in Milan. He did it or not 4 years ago as well. Was the first time he competed, and he does the giant slalom downhill.
Oh, that's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, and I knew I was watching, and they have blind skiers, like, and they have like a
Yeah, they
pilot
do.
person, and I was like, that is so freaking inspiring. I
Oh,
loved it.
the guy who won the novice snowboarding award this year for Winter Sports Clinic was a blind snowboarder. And
Love
his
it.
name is Bryson. He lives in Hawaii. And he is like one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. And it could not have gone to a more deserving person. Like I
Absolutely.
know my snowboard instructors are like, hey, we want to put you in for like the novice thing or whatever. I can't compete against a blind man. Like, bro, like I can at least see where I'm going. I was like, he's literally going on a whim, like living on a prayer. Like, don't crash into a tree, bro.
For real.
And like to watch the video of him snowboarding. And the problem is that they don't have a section for blind snowboarding yet in the Paralympics. They don't have that yet.
Yeah.
And he brought awareness to that to me. Like I learned so much about the different things that were in the Paralympics right now this past week. It was incredible, you know. And I didn't know in the beginning that they even had sled hockey, blind sled hockey, which is called Sonic hockey, because I've only ever seen it with people standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I like to network. I like to know. I like to do. I like to see. I like to encourage people to do things past what they think that they can do because that's what I want to do. You
Yeah.
know, all we need is for one person to believe in us. That's it. You know, and yeah, I really hope that everybody that was there understands and knows that I believe in them. Like, bro, like that's incredible. You know,
It's
just being
awesome.
out there to do that stuff. Like blind sled hockey player. Like what?
Yeah.
And he
All right,
scored his
Wendy.
own goal, by the way.
Awesome. Hey, can we take
So
one more quick break? And then I'd like to come back and kind of finish up with um, you meeting up with Brad and him giving you the patch and introducing you to me.
absolutely.
Okay, give me 30 seconds.
All right.
All right. Okay, real quick though, before we wrap up here with Brad, tell me a little bit about how you met your wife and how long you guys been together.
Well, whenever I came back and they switched me from Fort Bliss to Fort Polk to do the community care unit so I can go have my surgeries and be closer to home, you know,
Okay.
cost effective for the military, I guess. My wife, she was also active duty, she was active duty Army and she was stationed there. And we met at this little place outside of Fort Polk. You might know it. It's called the Sugar Shack.
Yep.
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 So I
I
don't think
spent a
it's
few
there
minutes in Fort
anymore.
Polk. Yep.
Oh yeah. So we met at the Sugar Shack, and funny story, my first service dog, she was just a puppy at the time. Also a boxer. I used her to get my wife's number.
There you go.
And because I was nervous, I'd never asked a woman out before. I was trying to figure it out. My husband and I had separated. We were going through a divorce, and I was like, "Fuck it." I was like, "Everybody's like, hey, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay. Well, might as well figure it out." Well, I used my dog to get her attention, got her number, and then she calls me out like a couple days later. She's like, "So you use your dog to get my number, and then you don't even call me." So I was like, "Well, I've never done this before." I explained to her the situation, and she goes, "Well, let's at least go grab something to eat." So we went to the other bar. I can't remember what it was or whatever, but we went to the other bar and had a meal, hung out, played some pool, and one thing led to another. And she actually retired out the military, medically retired in 2014. So we met in 2014, and then she proposed to me on my birthday
Nice.
after I helped her move out to Florida because she's originally from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But because her mom lived out here, she wanted to be a little closer to her mom. And that's when we settled on the middle ground between Pennsylvania and Louisiana was Florida. And I was like, I can't stay in Louisiana, period. So
Yeah.
Florida was a good option. Well, we come out here to Florida, and we've made one hell of a living for ourselves. She was there for every single surgery, so she has seen me when I had like a six pack. I was a hell of a dancer. I was a barrel racer. I mean, I was 165 pounds solid muscle, and she's been there through all the surgeries, all the depressiveness, the few suicide ideations. She's been through all of it.
Yeah.
She's watched me at my best and seen me at my worst, and she's been watching me rise, ever since. Uh, that woman has, she's been the reason why I'm still here. Honestly, one of the biggest parts. Like she's definitely the person, my ride or die for the rest of my life. You
That's
know,
awesome. What's her name?
like her name is Larissa.
Is she there close
So
by?
no, so her passion is saving animals.
Okay.
And so we have a foster dog right now that she has actually, she takes all the bad cases as much as possible to brings them home, tries to show them that we're not going to hurt them, that they can go to be with forever people and stuff like that. I think that's part of her healing process as
That's
well.
fantastic.
And so she's got Halsey, one of our little pits from the shelter here that she just took out. She's very skittish, beautiful dog, but she was part of a breeding issue. So
Dang.
backyard breeder. So
Well, when she gets back in, if you'd give her a message for me, just tell her Sterling says thank you for taking care of
I
you.
will. I will.
That's awesome.
So we are complete opposite, by the way.
Yeah.
I am a morning person. She is a night owl.
Okay.
I prefer to help humans. She prefers to help animals. I prefer to be social. I like even I'm like an extroverted introvert. I need my cooling periods where I need time to myself, you know. But I spend a lot of time by myself usually because I clean pools for a living. And then, our schedules are off. We don't really have a day off together anymore. So, she prefers to stay home and like just go kayaking where it's like a solidarity or whatever. And I like to go out and party. I like to see people. I like to interact.
Yeah.
I like to watch, and it's just totally different people, but it works so well because I force her to go and do stuff and she forces me to slow the hell down sometimes,
That's
you
awesome.
know? So
Okay,
yeah,
well let's end and wrap this up here. I am curious. I'd like to know kind of this last year how you ran into Brad and how he gave you that patch and introduced you to me.
So, as we know, I've known Brad for quite a few years now. Started with the Creative Arts Festival the first year and then the second year. And then we've been Facebook friends ever since. And he's just kind of been checking in on me. He's definitely been there when he's noticed my ups and downs and stuff. He's been a great supporter for my hockey and has encouraged me to continue to go forward. He's always reached out when he thought that I was in a low point, like, hey, come on, and then when I wound up here at the Winter Sports Clinic, honestly, it was right after I did the hardest thing that I've ever done, which was come on, Wendy, scuba diving. It was my first time
Okay.
doing scuba diving, and I was very much so in my feels, very much so. It brought a lot out in me, and it's part of what made me start to agree to come and do this. Brad sat me down on the staircase in the event center afterwards. He gave me a big old hug, and I was like, dude, I'm in my feels right now, man. I was like, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. I was like, I'm, trying to pull it together. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm shivering because of the anxiety or because I'm fucking cold, I was like, hey, I can't figure it out. And he comes, he's like, you know what? He's like, I've got something for you. And he brings out this patch, you know, the come hang patch of yours. And he said, I have this guy. You and him have sled hockey, like diehard sled hockey people. He's like, he started healing through that. And he's like, I see you heal through that. He's like, and I want you to have this, and I want to connect you to him. And he calls you up and
Yeah.
he tells you about me. I was like, all right, let's do this. And after we get off the phone, he's like, Wendy, he's like, let me tell you something. He's like, that's the person that your story should go out to. He's like, you've gone through a lot of stuff. He's like, I've seen some of the transition. I've like literally seen you go from where you were then to where you are now. He's like, it's a huge transition. I think other people can benefit from hearing part of your story or your whole story. And he's like, and Sterling's a great dude. He's like, he knows what it's like to go through stuff like what you're going through. And he hands me this patch, and I'm sitting there, and like it came later on in the evening when I was sitting there, and I'm like trying to pull myself together, and another vet comes by, Carla Best. She's on the Colorado sled hockey team. Again, sled hockey. All routes lead to sled hockey.
Right.
And I told her everything, well, a little bit more than what I told you earlier about what happened and how I really lost my leg. You know, and that was the first time. I've been playing the sport for 10 years. That was the first time that I have ever told anybody the entire full story of what happened to me. And she told me, she said, Wendy, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not me. And then I remembered Brad, and I had that patch in my pocket. And I said, you know what? I was like, I might not be able to write a book, but maybe I trust the man who I trust to go and talk to Sterling. And maybe that might help somebody else, you know?
Well, it's an honor. Um, I appreciate your vulnerability. Um, I appreciate your service. I appreciate everything you've done. And like I say in my intro, there's those, when you raise your hand and you swear that oath, it's to community and country.
It is.
And once a veteran, always a veteran. And there is something so powerful to me when I get to meet people that take those dark times when when most people would give up, that veteran heart comes out. We don't know how to quit.
We
There's a
want to
mission.
sometimes, I will say that. We definitely want
Absolutely.
to,
Absolutely.
but
But
there's that drive.
yeah, there's something wired in us that we're mission focused, and we dedicate our lives to service leadership. This podcast came about. My wife went through triple negative breast cancer during COVID. It's like you were saying, I couldn't go to the hospital with her. No one was there by her side. It was dark times for me. It was rough. And I had a moment in my shop, and I was more impaired than I'd ever been. And it hit me. And I was like, I'm not suicidal. I don't have these ideations. But if something happened, what's my family going to think?
Yeah.
And it hit me. And it was about 3:00 in the morning. And I called the chief of police. We live right across the street from the police station. And I called the chief of police and just left him a message and said, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what's going on. I'm okay. But would you please check in on me in the morning? Make sure I'm okay. And that night, it kind of hit me that I just wish I had someone that would come hang.
Oh, wow.
Someone that I could talk to. No, we can talk about whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But I need someone here. And I know there's thousands of people out there just like me that 100%. Just need someone to come hang and talk. And I'm honored and grateful that I had you on. And I love that Brad, he's such an ambassador. I love that man to death.
I am so sad that this was his last year, but I'm so happy. So he's retiring now.
Yep.
And it was an honor to have him there, to be able to give him those hugs on his last final venture, and I'm very, very, very honored to have met that man and to have him as part of my life and for him to introduce me to you. And that's a hell of a story, man, because I feel that,
That man's got one more mission. He did tell me he's retiring. He called me about 6 months, maybe a year ago. And he told me, he said, Sterling, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've served every kind of walk of life out there. I've done everything imaginable within the VA. And I have one last thing on my bucket list, and that is to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. He didn't tell me that part.
Yeah. He said, I want to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and I want you to be my escort.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. And I was like,
oh, my God.
Anything, you bet. So,
oh, man.
I've been in the works of pulling every political connection I can and see what I can do. But that is my hope and wish to him, is I would love to give him that honor someday. So,
oh, he deserves that honor. Oh my gosh,
he does.
He's an amazing
Wendy,
man.
It is a pleasure. I am so glad I got a chance to meet with you. Thank you for sharing your story. I know it's hard. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
Deeply proud.
Listen, I'm glad that you're still here to do this stuff too, because you're right. Sometimes all we need is just that one person just to come and hang.
Yeah. I throw the challenge out there. As you cross another person in your path, feel free to share my number. I'd love to hear their story 100%. Too.